For decades, the relationship between the United States and China has been described through the language of trade, diplomacy, and military competition. But beneath the carefully scripted handshakes, polished speeches, and staged summit photos lies something much older and far more dangerous. At the 2026 U.S. China summit, many analysts focused on tariffs, Taiwan, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and military exercises in the Pacific. But what may have mattered most was not what was openly said. It was the subtle message Chinese President Xi Jinping appeared to send to President Donald Trump. A warning rooted in one of history's oldest geopolitical patterns, the Thucydides Trap. For viewers of Coffee Talk, this summit was not merely another diplomatic event. It was a symbolic confrontation between a declining global hegemon and a rising superpower determined to reshape the world order. And Xi Jinping may have been reminding Trump of a brutal historical truth. When a rising power threatens to replace an established one, conflict often follows. The term Thucydides Trap comes from the ancient Greek historian Thucydides, who chronicled the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta nearly 2,500 years ago. Thucydides famously wrote, "It was the rise of Athens and the fear that this instilled in Sparta that made war inevitable." In modern geopolitics, the concept was revived by political scientist Graham Allison, who argued that throughout history, rising powers and ruling powers often collide violently. Athens challenged Sparta, Germany challenged Britain, Imperial Japan challenged the United States. Now, many believe China is challenging America. The significance of the 2026 summit lies in the possibility that Xi Jinping subtly framed China not as a subordinate nation seeking approval from Washington, but as a civilization state ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with the United States or eventually surpass it. That changes everything. Every chair placement, every handshake, every camera angle sends a message. At the summit, Xi projected patience, continuity, and strategic calm. Trump projected nationalism, economic pressure, and American dominance. However, Xi's demeanor seemed designed to convey something deeper. China believes time is on its side. That alone may have been the real message. Unlike American politics, which shifts dramatically every 4 years, China's leadership often thinks in terms of decades. Xi's government repeatedly emphasizes national rejuvenation, technological independence, and the end of what Beijing calls the century of humiliation. In other words, China no longer sees itself as merely participating in an American-led order. It sees itself preparing to inherit it. Xi Jinping did not need to openly threaten the United States. The warning was embedded in symbolism and tone. By emphasizing multipolarity, mutual respect, and non-interference, China appeared to signal that the era of unquestioned American dominance is ending. When Xi spoke about historical transitions and shared global leadership, many Western observers interpreted the language as diplomatic routine. But Chinese political messaging often operates through indirect historical references and carefully layered rhetoric. To Beijing's leadership, the message may have been crystal clear. China believes the balance of power is shifting, and it expects the United States to accept that reality peacefully or resist it at enormous cost. That is the essence of the Thucydides Trap. For the United States, China represents something uniquely unsettling. Unlike previous rivals, China combines massive industrial power, advanced technological development, nuclear capabilities, global infrastructure influence, financial leverage, a population of over 1 billion, and a long-term strategic vision. The Soviet Union rivaled America militarily, but struggled economically. Japan rivaled America economically, but lacked military ambition. China possesses both economic and geopolitical ambitions simultaneously. This creates deep anxiety within the American establishment. Washington increasingly sees China not simply as a competitor, but as the first nation in generations capable of permanently displacing U.S. dominance. That fear shapes everything: trade wars, technology bans, military alliances, Taiwan policy, semiconductor limitations, and naval expansion in the Pacific. From Beijing's perspective, these moves confirm the Thucydides Trap dynamic. The ruling power is trying to contain the rising one. No issue symbolizes the danger of the Thucydides Trap more than Taiwan. To the United States, Taiwan is a democratic partner and strategic ally in the Pacific. To China, Taiwan is an inseparable part of Chinese territory and a core national interest. That difference is explosive. Xi Jinping has repeatedly indicated that reunification is inevitable. Meanwhile, the United States continues increasing military coordination and arms support around the region. This creates a terrifying possibility. Neither side may believe it can afford to back down. Historically, wars between great powers often begin not because leaders want catastrophe, but because both sides believe retreat would signal weakness. That is exactly how the ancient Athens-Sparta rivalry spiraled into destruction. The summit also represented a clash of political philosophies. Trump's worldview centers on nationalism, economic leverage, and restoring American manufacturing dominance. His rhetoric frames China as a rival exploiting American weakness. Xi's worldview is broader and more historical. China presents itself as the architect of a new multipolar world where U.S. influence is diluted and regional powers gain greater autonomy. In this sense, the summit was not merely about policies. It was about competing definitions of global order itself. Trump appeared to demand that America remain number one. Xi appeared to suggest that this outcome cannot be sustained by history forever. That subtle tension may have been the summit's most important moment. Modern superpower competition extends beyond military and economic power. It is psychological. China's leadership often emphasizes inevitability. The inevitability of China's rise, the inevitability of technological independence, and the inevitability of American decline. Whether true or not, repeating this narrative serves a strategic purpose. It pressures rivals psychologically while boosting domestic confidence. At the summit, Xi may have been communicating quiet confidence rather than aggression. That can be more intimidating than threats. Historically, dominant powers often overestimate their permanence, while rising powers cultivate patience. China appears determined to project the image of a civilization that believes it can outlast short-term American pressure. History is not destiny. Not every rivalry ends in war. The United States and the Soviet Union avoided direct conflict during the Cold War despite terrifying nuclear tensions. Economic interdependence between China and America also creates incentives for restraint. But avoiding the Thucydides trap requires something extraordinarily difficult. Both nations must redefine victory. America would need to accept a world where it is no longer the sole superpower. China would need to rise without seeking domination or coercive expansion. That balance may be possible, but history suggests it is rare. The danger today is that nationalism in both countries is intensifying simultaneously, and nationalism often narrows the political space for compromise. Many viewers hear terms like geopolitics and assume these struggles only affect governments. That is a mistake. A U.S. China confrontation would reshape global energy prices, supply chains, inflation, technology access, financial markets, military alliances, internet freedom, and artificial intelligence development. Even without direct war, economic fragmentation between the world's two largest economies could permanently alter daily life across the globe. The stakes are enormous, and that is why the subtle messaging of this summit matters, because history's most dangerous moments often begin quietly, through symbolism, shifting power balances, and leaders testing one another's resolve. The 2026 summit between Xi Jinping and Donald Trump may eventually be remembered not for dramatic agreements or public confrontations, but for something more subtle, a silent acknowledgement that the global balance of power is changing. Xi Jinping's apparent invocation of the Thucydides Trap was less a threat than a historical reminder. China believes it is rising, America fears decline, and history shows that such moments can become extraordinarily dangerous. The question now is whether both nations can escape the cycle that trapped great powers before them, or whether the world is witnessing the early stages of a new era of confrontation. For Coffee Talk, the real story is not just about diplomacy. It is about whether humanity can learn from history before history repeats itself.